Hello and welcome to this week's writing tutorial. Before I get on to this week's task, I'm just going to run through how these prompts work. Now in this box I have 250 numbered tickets, and each week I pick a number which relates to the list of prompts. You'll find that list on the blog. Some of the prompts are description or persuasive writing, some are more technical, and there are a few that you'll find a bit more challenging. I'm picking these numbers a couple of weeks ahead, but I keep the random order that they come out in. So you're free to just pick your own prompt and run with it, but with these tutorials I'm providing you with a fuller and more useful lesson, working with the prompt to develop techniques and improve skills. These videos are available through YouTube, but I would always suggest that you go onto the blog, where there are more notes and extension tasks to develop the ideas further. Also, if you want feedback on your work, it's easier for me to get notifications from the blog so that I can respond in good time, as YouTube, for whatever reason, isn't showing me comments. So, back to the prompt for this week, which is 42, which is alarm clock. And the task is to describe the scene after your alarm goes off. Now, this is probably my least favourite prompt because, quite frankly, it's a cliche. Having your character start their story by waking up is the easiest way to introduce them, but it's been done so many times before. And it takes a particularly interesting approach to refresh the cliche and produce a new alarm clock opener, which is what we're going to attempt this week. So for our starter, we're going to begin with openings. The opening of a story is probably the most important part. When done right, an author can hook the reader within the first page. Some even get you in the first paragraph or the first sentence. This example, Marley was dead to begin with. This is a classic story with an almost shocking opening line. It sparks all manner of questions. Who was Marley? Why is he dead? And why is that where we begin? Dickens doesn't start with a question, but he makes the reader ask them. Starting with a question is intriguing. It draws you in, makes you want to read more. Second style of opening is using the effect of sound. So this example, we came on the wind of the carnival, a warm wind for February, laden with the hot greasy scents of frying pancakes and sausages and powdery sweet waffles cooked on the hot plate right there by the roadside, with the confetti sticking down collars and cuffs and rolling in the gutters like an idiot antidote to winter. Now that's a long couple of sentences, but it builds on this idea of sound. The opening uses the assonance of a repeated W to create the sound of the wind, but then follows it with this long list of carnival delights that stop you in your tracks. The author uses sound, light and smell to create a scene of richness, all beginning with that warm wind. Using sound in this way is compelling because it helps to create a sensory landscape. Other authors use a bang or a crash, some kind of onomatopoeia to catch your interest and give the character something to react to. Next is action. So this example, Lyra and her demon moves to the darkening hall, taking care to keep to one side out of sight of the kitchen. Now, introducing Lyra as a silent, surreptitious character, Pullman immediately kind of piques our interest. It's not a big, loud battle scene, but rather a subtle, quiet moment where the reader has time to absorb the surroundings, imagining the hall, with a capital letter, which adds a grandness against the humbler idea of the kitchen. And starting with action and movement says a lot about your character, and jumping into moving action starts with an excitement that keeps your reader reading. And then we move on to dialogue. So come home tonight, come home. Beginning with some kind of warning or imperative like stop or wait gives the reader an immediate jolt. You want to know why, what is the threat? Starting with dialogue can help to create a scene and introduce strange voices that are intriguing. And finally, vivid images. We slept in what had once been a gymnasium. The floor was of varnished wood with stripes and circles painted on it for the games that were formerly played there. The hoops for the basketball nets were still in place, though the nets were gone. Although she doesn't use any figurative language, no metaphors and similes, the author introduces this place by describing what is and what is not there. The scene is unbalanced. This is a place of sports and games that is bereft of fun and enjoyment. This is a place of contrast, which is intriguing. Creating vivid images to introduce your story using metaphor, simile or even personification creates an interesting scene that draws the reader in. Openings have to hook the reader. They need to draw us in and make us curious. And we come across these techniques in every book. at the start of every chapter pretty much. So for the start of this week, I want you to try and find an example of each of these opening techniques out of your own collection of books, or online, or wherever you like. So analyse it. How do you think it makes the reader want to continue reading? Take 10 minutes. So now we've identified what makes a good opening. We're now going to try and make the alarm clock start more interesting. It's easy to start with just the alarm blaring and rush into the story from there, but that kind of 0 to 60 writing is not always a great demonstration of skill, because you're rushing through everything and you can't craft whilst you're running, essentially. So instead, we're going to start in a dream and use another cliche to match with this cliche to create something new. So by starting in a dream, we can use more expressive opening styles and start with interesting language choices or dialogue or action, using this dream world's more kind of fuzzy logic to create something that doesn't have to make sense, which makes it more interesting and intriguing. So take a look at this example. Now, I've taken this from a fragment of a dream that I vaguely remember from a couple of nights ago. So we have the fox rolled a 6 and skipped forward 7 spaces, sliding slyly onto Mayfair. I looked up, glaring sternly, and he stepped back onto Supertax with a sigh. "What do you expect?" the badger said, plucking out a strange little tune on his lute. "He's never been an honest gambler, and now he's bankrupt." "Am not," complained the fox, but he looked down at his dwindling cash with chagrin. "I have waterworks. Oh, and your cash is burning." "My cash? Badger, can you play a little quieter?" The scent of burning reached my nose, building as the badger's claws plucked harder. "Beck, your toast done. Turn off that thing and get down here." A random idea of a game of Monopoly with forest creatures being disturbed by burnt toast creates an opening with questions, some interesting language choices, and characterisation. Why does this character dream of woodland creatures? Why Monopoly? I'm not entirely sure where this idea came from, but I'm eager to continue. So, for your idea developer, I want you to think about a dream situation. Write down images and ideas that you can remember from your own dreams, or just random thoughts. That is what dreams are after all. Jumble the ideas together as much as you like, and describe the scene in a rough paragraph or two. Don't forget to build in the alarm. It could be music, a blaring sound, or a sensory clue like burning toast. Take a good 10 minutes. Hopefully you've been able to create a really random and intriguing dreamscape to open your story with. So now we need to actually begin the story. What your character dreams about says a lot about their, character. So it should be easier for you to use the dream as a foundation for this task. I'm going to introduce a different planning grid. This one develops the character's motivations to make it easier to decide on their immediate actions in response to a situation. Built as a pyramid, this chart allows you to add more detail in each stage, developing the ideas as you go. So at the top we have a situation, what's happening. Next we have first thought. What is the character's first thought in this situation? Then we have what is the plan for today, so what event is happening or expected, and kind of build up, give some detail. Then why is this important? What event does it link to? Why does it need to happen? And then what does this character need? So what does the character need to get to prepare for it? Do they need files, a projector? Do they need weapons? Is it a big battle of some kind? Whatever the character needs is in that bottom slot. As we're only looking at the opening, this grid makes it easy to find a focus for our characters. Smaller steps that can eventually lead to a longer story. So here's what I've sketched out based on my Woodland Games example. So my situation is Beck has a meeting with an investor about a wildlife conservation project. His first thought is, am I ready for this? I'm not ready for this. I can't do this. His plan is to wake up early, leave in good time and arrive early to make a good impression. This meeting is important because Beck needs investment to finish the project that will make business a household name, a success. He's been working for years to get to this point. And Beck needs to shower, dress well and be presentable to collect together all the documents and models and presentation, to get on the road by 6:45 and not meet any significant traffic on the way. Beck needs to be ready to dazzle the investor. So here I've built a foundation and motivation for my character's actions. At this point I don't know, and I don't need to know how the story will end. This is my foundation, and should be a good source of ideas and direction until this particular event is over. A story is a series of connected events that create an arc from beginning to end. So I consider this as a stepping stone which might be the basis of a short story, or the opening of a novel. If you decide to try and write a novel in the future, using this pyramid can help you reason out your character's immediate choices and actions when they face each new situation. So you can kind of work on your character arc in a small piece at a time. So for this writing task, I want you to extend your dream into the real world. Have your character wake up and get ready for this day because there is something important happening. You should have a really good run at this one, at least 4 paragraphs. And if you want to extend the dream part, feel free, but don't get stuck on that side of the story. You should end up with more details in the waking world, and you should finish in the waking world. So take a good 15-20 minutes, and don't forget to dare. This one will really appreciate being carefully revised. So before I read you my opening, I want you to look back at your own and answer these questions. Look back to last week's bonus video on reflection for some tips on how to use your reflections to target your weaknesses and improve your writing. That should just be a standard way of picking up on your weaknesses and showing improvement as you go along. So your questions are: I do or do not understand how specific features make an opening compelling. I think that I did well with whatever because whatever, and I struggled with this, so next time I will. Okay? So I like using a dream sequence, kind of that waking sequence, because it creates 2 different worlds and you can have a really great contrast between the dream world and the real one. So I've started with my Monopoly playing animals, and I've just kind of tweaked it slightly to have it make more sense really as the story continues. This is a nearly completed scene, and I think is a good opening introduction to a character or a situation that works as a short story or even as the seed of a longer one. A lot of these writing pieces I'm putting to one side because sometimes I have the feeling that they're going to be a longer story when I get to finish them. Sometimes I don't. It's just the way that writing goes. Some things go nowhere and some have legs. So I haven't given this one a title yet. I might just call it Badger. The fox rolled a 6 and skipped forward 7 spaces, sliding slyly onto Mayfair. I looked up, glaring sternly, and he stepped back onto Supertax with a sigh. What do you expect? Badger said, plucking out a strange little tune on his lute. He's never been an honest investor, and now he's bankrupt. I am not, complained the fox, but he looked down at his dwindling cash with chagrin. I have waterworks. Oh, and your cash is burning. My cash? Badger, can you play a little quieter? The scent of burning reached my nose, building as the badger's claws plucked harder. Beck, your toast done. Turn off that thing and get down here. I blinked away the dream as I leapt from the bed, shed the shorts and t-shirt that stood for pyjamas, slid into the shower and turned the dial. My hands were already spreading soap as the icy water beat down. Friction warmed it slightly, but I gritted my teeth and endured as the water heater jolted into life. I was soaped and scrubbed and rinsed clean before the shower reached a comfortable temperature. I cleaned my teeth whilst combing my hair, then the world slowed down as I soaped and shaved my face. I haven't inherited the gene for a luscious black beard that is my father's pride and joy, and I couldn't get away with this stylishly rugged look today. So a careful shave with all its necessary facial expressions was a definite must this morning. I dressed in smart black trousers and a crisply ironed shirt, then dodged the toys and catnip mice at the top of the stairs as I descended to the kitchen. A mug of coffee and a plate of burnt toast waited on the breakfast bowl, glistening with melted butter. I still don't understand why it has to be burnt, Jude said, adding a glass of orange juice to the bowl. It's good for stress and stops indigestion, I answered, slathering a second layer of butter over the first and taking a bite. But that, Jude snatched away the butter dish, isn't doing anything for your heart. I grinned cheekily as I chewed, washing it down with sips of coffee. How was your shift? Long, and don't try and distract me. You said you were going to pack last night. It's a bomb sighting now. I made some changes. I had to run it through again. You need to stop stressing about this. You've practiced this presentation for weeks, love. Finish that, no more butter, and I'll pack your gear. I plate and mug into the dishwasher as I swilled the last mouthful of orange juice around my mouth. Faint traces of toothpaste adding a strange flavour. The red plastic bowl on the drainer was curiously empty. Where's Badger? I asked. Still asleep on the wardrobe, I guess, came the reply as Jude carried my briefcase, gym bag, and crate of models and diagrams down the hall to the front door. Are you ready to go? 6:45. Yep. Next stop, A12. Tie and jacket? In the car, I planned ahead. Okay, I'm off. Do I get a kiss for good luck? I checked my watch as I turned the wheel and the Prius slid smoothly into the empty car park. Despite the Monday morning traffic, I was actually early. Pulled down the visor and checked my smile. There was something between my teeth. Something black. Brushing teeth before breakfast was quicker, but probably a bad idea today. I reached back for my gym bag. I have a travel kit in there. Pulled open the zip, and a flurry of furious fur and claws came barreling out of the bag, yowling like a thing possessed. A moment later, I was fending off Jude's confused and angry half-Persian, half-demon cat, and I became aware of two things. First, that my prospective investor had just pulled into the parking space next door, and second, that Badger really doesn't travel well.